Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oklahoma On Stage, your backstage pass to all things theater in the great state of Oklahoma. I'm Tim, and I'm your host as we journey through this magical world of theater. We appreciate you joining us. If this is your first time, you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and our website is oklahomaonstage.org. There you can find all our past episodes, a newsletter which is right around the corner, as well as a monthly calendar of events going on around the state. If you'd like to add an event, production, or audition to the calendar, just email us at oklahomaonstage@gmail.com. Also, send any comments or questions you have to the same email or use the contact form on the website. We would like to ask that if you like what you hear on our podcast, leave us a rating and or a review. That helps other people find us. We have a very special episode today as we are branching out of our normal schedule of offering interviews with actors and producers and theaters to bring in a very special individual who is a voice health coach. So sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and enjoy. Again, thanks for joining us. Now let's get into the episode.
Oklahoma on stage, the stories come alive with drama, dance, and music. The arts always thrive. From center stage to backstage lore, Oklahoma on stage, there's always something more.
Welcome back, everybody, to Oklahoma On Stage, where we shine a spotlight on all things theater across the state of Oklahoma. Our guest today is an incredible voice health coach with over 30 years of experience helping singers, actors, lawyers, and others master vocal techniques that enhance their performance and reduce the strain on their voice. With a master's degree in vocal performance, she's not only an expert, she's a dedicated mentor who understands the demands of voice work firsthand. Her background spans musicals, operas, recitals, concerts, along with serving as a worship leader and a choir director in her community. As a certified coach in neurovocal method and somatic voice works, she specializes in guiding artists towards vocal longevity and efficiency. When she's not coaching, you might find her traveling or reading or watching movies with her wonderful husband of 33 years, Randy. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome my friend, Mrs. Melissa Kamm, to the podcast.
Thank you, Tim. I'm glad to be here.
So, just kind of to let you know what we're doing, just so everybody else knows. Melissa sent me talking points so that she keeps me on task. But that's not all we're talking about. So I like to have fun when we do this, and so as we get towards the end, as I do with all of my guests, I have a few curveball questions that I like to throw at people. So you'll love it. Because usually by the time we get to that, after I've asked you all the other really good questions, you have no way to think of anything. We've had some where we've done what we call the lightning round.
I was wondering if that's what it was going to be.
Well, yeah, I hadn't got there yet.
Had the music in the background.
Yeah.
Doo-doo.
Well, that's what I told him. I said, I'm not putting a clock on this. Just the first thing that comes to your mind. But I didn't do that with you. I was nice. So we're just going to have some fun. And usually, just like we do with every other episode, we're going to start with the elephant in the room. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into vocal coaching.
Well, I started singing at a very young age. My parents were worship leaders at our church, and at 5 years old, I was standing on a chair next to the piano singing Amazing Grace quite frequently at church. But I had a really bad case of the nerves where I would, if they told me before the service, the church service, I would bawl. I would just cry and cry and cry. And then they got to where they would just surprise me. When we got to service, they're like, oh yeah, you're singing today. And oh, okay. And then it got to where I would sing and then I would go back to the seat and bawl. It was really, really bad. It wasn't until I was about 16 years old that I started getting a handle on my nerves. And And that's about the time that I started discovering theater, choir, doing solos, doing competitions. And all of that really helped me gain confidence. So I decided to be a music major. I went to Texas Tech for 3 semesters and then transferred over to Southwestern Oklahoma State University, where I graduated and met my wonderful husband with a degree in vocal performance. And then from there, I got my master's degree at OU. Again, in several operas, doing, lots of stage work, and was really thinking I was going to be an opera singer. That was my plan. And God had other plans. And through a series of some tragedies in our family, we decided we'd rather have a family. And so that's kind of when I started really concentrating on teaching and coaching and worship leading and those kinds of things that we could kind of stay around here. And I tell you what, Tim, I took a sabbatical during some of that time, and I missed it.
Missed it, yeah.
I missed teaching. I have found that is really, I love performing. I do, and I've done community theaters here and things of that nature, but I love it. I love those aha moments when it's I didn't know. I didn't know my voice could do that. I didn't know, this is so cool. This is so much easier for me. I love those moments. And so that's really my big focus now is teaching and coaching.
Yeah, I train for a living, and I understand those aha, we call them light bulb moments, and it's what you live for. When you're teaching like that, to see that look on their face when all of a sudden they get it, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's crazy. Okay, so how did we first connect?
Well, I think we connected through your wife,
Yes.
Julie, because we were in White Christmas together. And kind of gathered a friendship from being in it. When you're in a show with someone and you're spending 8 million hours together, you just form your friendships there. And I met you through that. And then you were in Murder on the Orient Express with my husband. Was that your first?
That was the first connection with Randy.
With Randy.
But I believe that Murder came first.
Murder came first, and then Julie with White Christmas. That was all in the same year, too. That was all in the same season. Wasn't Murder first and then
something like that? Yeah,
and then,
something like that.
We thought they're goofy people. I think we can hang out with them.
Yeah, we're all a little nutty. So okay, cool. So what led to this conversation today?
Well, I saw you put something out on Facebook, and that you're looking for people to interview. And I want to share this. I want to share some of my knowledge with your audience. If I can bring some value to them, if I can help your audience, that's really what I want to do. So it's really not about me. It's about, I want to, if I can give them an aha moment just through this podcast, if I can give them something that they can take with them as they perform on stage, then I have accomplished my goal.
So you see, it's not my podcast. It's not her podcast. It's your podcast. So
that's
there you
true,
go.
Yeah.
So there you go. So you've been teaching for over 30 years. So what?
I started when I was 12.
I wasn't going to go there. I wasn't going to go there. See, there are certain things we don't touch on this show. So I just, so 30 years. And so what brought about this program that you have developed?
Well, I taught singers specifically for the majority of that time. And then when COVID happened, I got some more I had time to get some more certifications and things. And the whole transfer to Zoom, and everybody was, online. And a lot of the times I would be online listening to these workshops, and you have a lot of that happening, or it just
Oklahoma allergies,
or the timbre of their voice just wasn't quite right, and you're like, oh, and that got me thinking that the vocal mechanism is the same physiology whether you're singing or speaking, and so that just kind of led me to the more that I could talk to speakers specifically instead of just singers, and kind of I coach through that. I came up with my share method of share your best voice, and that hopefully we're going to talk about here in a minute.
That was actually, I was trying to make that a segue, and you did it for me. So,
Thank you.
so let's talk about this. Like you said, it's called Share Your Best Voice. And what is it, and how does it help performers?
Okay, well, when you go to a coaching or you go to a lesson and you have all of this wonderful information, and then you go home and you're like, what did they say? What was I supposed to learn?
That's what happened when I went to her class.
Except you have the material. You can go back. So I wanted to come up with an acronym that can help people, remind people of the things that they can be working on. And so SHARE stands for stabilize, hydrate, articulate, resonate, and energize the breath. And those are the major techniques that we use as we teach voice. So stabilize is going to have everything to do with how you hold your body to speak or to sing. And you are a vocal athlete. I want you to think about that. You're a vocal athlete. And if you can associate what athletes do to prepare and to train for their performance, for lack of a better word, that's what we need to do as vocal athletes. So how you hold your instrument, and your body is your instrument, your vocal folds are housed inside of your body. That's how you make the sound. How you hold your body is going to make a difference as to whether it's going to be an efficient sound or a strained kind of sound. Okay, so that's stabilize. Then hydrate. It's so important to keep water in your body. You are made up of 75 to 80% water. Every cell in your body has to have water. So drinking water is very important. And our brain is such a wonderful thing that whatever liquid you give your body, your brain decides where that water is going to go. So it's going to go obviously to the brain, it's going to go to your heart, it's going to go to your major organs. And so your secondary things like your eyeballs, your skin, your vocal folds, they're going to get the short end of the stick unless you are providing enough hydration for that. And so what I like to tell my peeps is start with whatever you are doing and then just add a glass every 2 or 3 days. Because, if you try to do the 8 glasses
Right.
all at once, then, you're living in the bathroom.
You're just hurting your bladder.
Unless you want to avoid people, and then you can be like, okay, I'm drinking my water now. The other part of hydrate is also as you perform, sometimes you can get really dry. Your throat can become dry. And so having like a personal humidifier. So not only water from the outside or inside out, but also having that opportunity for outside in. Keeping a mint handy so that the saliva can keep it hydrated, breathing more through the nose because the nose naturally hydrates and warms and filters, all of those kinds of things. So we have stabilize, we have hydrate, articulate. That is everything that has to do with making the words. So it's going to be your lips, your jaw, your tongue, and your soft palate. Those are your articulators. And so I thought we could do today is have a little exercise. Can we have a little exercise for articulators?
Absolutely.
So one of our articulators, let's just say it this way, they all have big jobs, right? And we don't show them love. Sure. So today we want to show love to our jaw. Our jaw does a lot for us. Can you think of some of the things that our jaw does for us?
It helps us chew.
It helps us chew. What else?
Well, it opens so we can vocalize.
We can vocalize. That's right. So it's going to help, create the consonants, open up for the vowels, those kinds of things. Can you think of anything else?
Not right off the top of my head.
Most people don't. We hold emotion in our jaw.
That is very true.
When you clench your jaw, trying to hold back, griping out your worker, son, daughter, spouse, friend. Sure. You're holding it back. And so we hold that emotion in there and we don't show the jaw very much love. So what I'd like to do with you and I, and please join us, those of you who are listening, is your jaw, the masseter muscle starts at your cheekbone. So I want you to feel for your cheekbone on either side of your nose. And your cheekbone runs from your ear almost to your nose. Now, if you'll take and go follow that down. That's the masseter muscle, and it goes all the way to your jawline. Okay. And it is the strongest by size, strongest muscle in your body. And you don't ever stretch it. We don't ever do anything. So we're going to take just a few seconds and I want you to just massage that muscle, massage up and down. Sometimes there might be a tender spot that you can massage a little more. Sometimes there might be a knot in there. I know I keep one about right here. That's so take some time and massage that jaw. You can even use the heel of your hand and start at the cheekbone and just draw it down and let your jaw go slack. And that can really release the jaw so that then you have good flexibility to be able to open your mouth as you speak. Because how does the sound usually come out when we speak or sing? The mouth. And if we're not opening our mouth, it's going to come out our nose. And you've heard that people that have that kind of nasal thing is they don't really open their mouth much. So we want the jaw to be nice and loose and flexible so that we can open and speak well.
Oh, very good.
There you go.
I had a coach years ago. We would do the knuckles.
Oh yeah.
And do the knuckle right in the joint right there. So it's like right in the center of that muscle. And so yeah, you can feel the tension. Now I'm a person that I carry tension and stress in my neck and shoulders, and which led to surgery a couple years ago. But yeah, even with that, you can still have the tension in here, even though.
So making that as a part of your warm up, you have the Mommy Made Me Mash My M&Ms or Aluminum Linoleum or Unique New York, those kinds of things. Add that as a part of your regimen of preparing your articulators to be able to do the speaking that you need to on stage.
Excellent. So one of the things that you and I had talked about is that you work with a lot of different people. So who is it that can benefit from this program? Is it just singers and actors, or are there other people that can benefit from this too?
Well, I'm so very glad that you asked that, but can we circle back and go back to the R and the E?
Oh, you want to finish this out? Okay, absolutely.
That would be great.
Sure.
We could go back to the R and the E. So the R is resonate. And resonate is basically how we make sound. And when the vocal folds come together to vibrate, the little sound waves, they bounce around inside and then they come out and you sound like you, right? So we have resonators inside of our body, like the body of a guitar. When you pluck the string, it bounces around, the sound bounces around inside the body of the guitar, and then it comes out here and sounds like a guitar, right? And so you can't change the shape of a guitar without ruining it, right? We can change the shape of our resonators. We can make them bigger. We can make them smaller. And that helps us to create different sounds. So if you're trying to go for a different character sound, something that's not your natural everyday talk kind of sound, you're probably going to want to manipulate those resonators. And so being able to do that and be flexible with it, I think that's very important. But also your voice, when you phonate, you actually have two places in your voice. You have a low voice sound, like we're talking here. But you also have a high voice sound like Mickey Mouse sound or Mary Poppins or, that kind of high voice sound. And although the muscles for the low voice sound get a lot of work because we use them every day, the muscles of the high voice sound don't get worked nearly as much. So something that an exercise that I like to do with my students is called the siren exercise, where you start low and then go all the way to the very tippy top, that very high, squeaky, mousy sound, and then come back down. It's going to sound something like this. Ah. You want to try that with me?
Sure.
Let's try it together.
Okay.
And you notice that your top is not very strong. It was a kind of a weaker sound than what the bottom is. So if you would start doing that every day, you're going to be working those muscles, those high voice muscles. And although you may not use them even in your stage productions, as you build muscle, just like going to the gym, and if you work out your arms all the time, but you skip leg day, you look a little uneven, right? We have the chicken legs going.
Right.
The same thing happens with our voice. So we want to strengthen the whole voice. So you may never talk up here at all, or sing, or do anything up here. But if you can strengthen those muscles, it's just going to make the whole vocal mechanism sound stronger. Okay?
Very good.
And then lastly, which is right up there with stabilize, and that's energize the breath. The way that we breathe makes a difference. You cannot have sound without the breath. The vocal folds, you can bring them together, but unless you have breath, you are not going to have sound. So how we breathe is very important. It goes right along with stabilize. How you hold your body is going to affect how you breathe. And so can we do a little panting exercise to see where our breathing muscles are? You know, we have a tendency in our culture that when you breathe, you take a big breath and everyone raises their shoulders. Everyone raises their chest and they feel like it's going up. And I want you to think when you breathe, it all needs to go down. You need to be feeling it in the abdominal area. And we can go into physiology. I could talk for days about this, and I won't. If you want more information, you can contact me and I'll give you all the information you want. But we want to be thinking about singing from the belly button or speaking from the belly button, especially when we want to project like that. And to really activate those muscles, I like to do what's called the panting exercise. Now, I don't know how this is going to work with these microphones, but we're going to try it and see what happens. Yeah, maybe back up.
Lean back a little bit.
So what we're going to do is we're going to exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, go faster, exhale, in, out, in, out, in. Then we're going to go faster, out, in, 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 out, in. And then we're going to pant like it's a dog and it's 105 outside. So let's sit up nice and tall because we have to think about how we hold our instrument how we breathe. So let's try it. So here we go. Ready? Breathe out. And in and out and in and faster. Out, in, out, in, out, in. And faster. Out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in. And now pant like a dog. And to do that, you really feel these muscles activate, the muscles of the abdomen activating. So that's really a great exercise to because that's where we need to speak from, especially when we're on stage and want to project. We really need to be thinking. And I have a projection exercise that I like to do with people to really help them feel this as they are energizing their sound. But we can save that for another time. Now I'm done with the share part.
Are you sure?
Well, no, I can still talk.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And I can tell everybody listening, I've actually gone through one of Melissa's workshops, and all of this stuff is great. The exercises and workouts that she provides in the class is really, really beneficial for a lot of different reasons. And I found that out during the class. It's not just about being on stage or being in front of a classroom or a conference or whatever. There's a lot of benefit that comes with knowing how you breathe, understanding how you stand and what muscles are engaged and all that kind of other stuff. And so we'll get into more of it later, but do, if you can, try to get a hold of Melissa and see if you could set this up. We do have what she went through on the share portion there is really just kind of an iceberg type, tip of the iceberg of what the share your best voice program is all about. And what we have, and Melissa would like to share this with everybody. We'll see how we did there. Is kind of a cheat sheet, if you will, what she calls her vocal checklist that walks through all of those, the whole acronym. There's some exercises in here that go along with each one of those. We're going to make this available to everybody that's listening and everybody that would like that. We'll have it available in the show notes so you can download it and you can have this to help you benefit with the strength of your voice. And, I have found in my job, what I teach and I train, I teach 6 different classes over a 2-week period every other month. And so on the in-between times, I let it relax. Then when I go back into the training, the first day or two, everything's very tired because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. It's kind of like when you go back into the gym for the first time after 2 or 3 years. The first time you lift, you think you got to, I can do this. I'm going to conquer the world. And you walk out of there feeling like a beat up noodle because nothing works.
Well, and vocal rest is important. So I'm glad you're doing vocal rest. But just like you said with the gym, you can't stop it completely.
Right.
So keeping up, and I do have a vocal journal that is 30 days, and it gives you a little snippet of an exercise every day. It has a place for affirmations and for prayer and for your goals for the day, and it has a voice tracker with it. How's my voice feeling today? But it also has just a little exercise to kind of keep that going, and it goes along with the share. So that's another.
So see, there you go. There's all kinds of good stuff. All you have to do is contact Melissa to get involved with this. Even if it's just a one-time deal to meet with her to kind of go over the share, how it fits you, all that kind of other stuff. Let her work with you. Let her set something up, and hey, spend some time with her. Get a series of sessions and let her work with you. I think you will definitely benefit from all of that. So we actually talked about who it would benefit going through all of that, and
Everybody, if you have a voice, it can benefit you. But especially if you have a voice that if you lost it,
mm,
you couldn't use your voice anymore, would that affect your life?
you think, yeah,
So let's make it the healthiest that it can be. You don't wait. They say don't wait until you have a heart attack before you start eating right and exercising. Don't wait until you lose your voice before you start really working on that and learning about it.
I couldn't agree more. So let's talk about since we're talking about the stage and we're talking to theater people, let's talk about some pre-performance exercises, some warm-ups, some stuff. What are some good things that you would recommend for an actor getting ready to go on stage?
Well, we absolutely want to warm up the vocal folds themselves. So doing things like the siren, like we did before, adding bubble lips to it, where and if you have a hard time with bubble lips, you can always call it horse lips, a little looser kind of like you're cold or something, right?
Right.
Singing and vocalizing through a straw is another really cool warm up. So you just have a straw in your mouth and basically you're singing. Ooh, that is really, really good for your voice, and it's a really good warm up. Then you have your articulators. You're going to want to warm up the tongue and the lips and the jaw and all of that kind of stuff. So doing your jaw massage, doing your tongue stretches, doing some those lip trills, bubble lips kinds of things that are going to help loosen those things up. And then your tongue twisters that are really good, and then I would also really get energy in your body. So roll your shoulders, roll your head so that your neck is nice and loose. Maybe do some jumping jacks to get that energy going, especially if you have that nervous energy. That's a really great way to kind of focus that nervous energy. So think about how you're standing. Think about, what do my feet feel like right now? What does my chest feel like? Is it nice and open? How is my head? Is it rising to the ceiling, or is it kind of, stuck down here where, you're sticking your chin out and you're all scrunched? So yeah, those would be some of the things that I would suggest before going out on stage.
Awesome. So I've got a lot of notes here that you actually covered as I was going through my questions. I'm like, okay,
Because I'm so wonderful.
it's like we did the hydration, we did the jaw massage, we did the resonance stuff. I'm like, wow, this is going to be a lot shorter than I thought.
Oh, I can talk more.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yes, I know. So
I didn't want to overwhelm people.
of course,
the first time.
So let's talk about you for a second. How in learning all of this stuff and putting it together, how has all of this benefited you?
Well, because I have 2 degrees in vocal performance, I knew about the resonance, and I knew about the breathing, and I knew about how to stand. But what I have noticed is when I put this together, I did a lot more research and found out the whys. Why do we want to hold our body the way we need to? Why do we not want to lock our knees? Why? What are the exercises, the specific exercises for showing love to your tongue and your jaw and your lips and your soft palate? So I dove deeper in the last 5 years or so, and that has really I feel more confident in when I'm on stage talking to people. I'm the choir director at our the church that I go to and things. And so being able to speak clearly and distinctly, I think has been my biggest help for myself. So I'm not just tripping over me trying to talk or clearing my throat all the time, making sure that I have those warm ups so that my voice is ready when I want it to be ready and I don't have to take the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 sentences before it's really there.
So let's talk about something you just brought up just then about the clearing your throat. I mean, we live here in Oklahoma and allergies everywhere. Everybody's got them and everybody does the a lot. I hear also oftentimes that that's not good for our voice to do that. So what do you suggest on the whole clearing the phlegm or whatever that we have in our throat?
Sure. So let's talk about the reason that you have it. Why is there phlegm to begin with? It's a protective, your vocal folds have mucus on them to protect them because when you're singing at a middle C, if you're just singing a middle C note, your vocal folds are hitting themselves 20,000 times per second.
Wow.
And so if you try to clap your hands 20,000 times, your hands are going to be raw and red, maybe even bleeding by that time. So the mucus is there for protection. Okay. So if you're not hydrating properly, it has a tendency to plug up that mucus. You mentioned allergies. Allergies would have a tendency because that's part of that protection and filtering because your vocal folds are there to help protect your lungs. The first job of the vocal fold is to keep foreign materials out of your lungs. That's why we cough. That's why we can close it. We close the glottis when we hold our breath like underwater because it's keeping the foreign materials out of the lungs. So they're used to that. They do that, but the thicker the mucus becomes, the harder you've got to slap those vocal folds together to get the mucus to come off. So making sure that you drink your water. The other thing is the harder you clear your throat, the more your vocal folds are going to try to protect themselves. And so they're going to create more mucus, which you're going to have to clear your throat again. So a couple of things that I'd like to tell my students is when you feel the urge to clear your throat, and I'm not saying from the standpoint of you actually like you're talking and you have the little frog kind of thing happening. I'm just saying the urge to clear your throat, swallow first. Then if that doesn't do it, then do what I would call an old man cough.
Just nothing behind it.
Nothing behind it. And see it that. And then I might do some hums. Try other ways of clearing that phlegm before you go to actually clearing your throat. Now, if you have to go to that place, don't try to start an engine. And you know what I mean. I'm not going to demonstrate that. But you know those people
Absolutely.
and it sounds like they're trying to start an engine. Don't do that, but just try to do it as the least amount that you possibly can. And again, when you clear it, do a quick clear, swallow, take a drink, whatever you need to, but swallow and see if that will do the clearing for you. Also, be careful with the antihistamines because the antihistamines dry. So then your body's going to go, oh, look, there's not protection on the vocal folds. Let's produce more mucus. So I would just be very careful with the use of antihistamines and maybe only do them at night if you can get by with that. I know not everybody can, but that can have an adverse effect on your vocal folds.
So again, going back to the hydration, making sure we have plenty of liquid. Okay, so you've mentioned several times using these vocal exercises is very similar to going to the gym. And one of the things that they talk about a lot when going to the gym is cooling down. So do you have a regimen or a recommendation for cooling down after, say, a performance or a day of speaking?
Absolutely. And I think that is just as important as warming up beforehand. Because if you were to run your 5K and then you just stop and sat down, your muscles are going to be, they're going to cramp, they're going to get tight, you're going to get sore, probably even more sore than if you were to walk around a little bit and do a little bit of stretching. So I want you to think about that for your voice. A really great cool down is to yawn breath in and sigh like you just stepped into a hot tub and it was beautiful like this. Ah, very nice and easy, lots of breathy. So the yawn sigh is a really good one. Hums. Mm, that's another really great way to cool down the voice, cool down the throat. And then something that I like to tell people is celebrate. Celebrate what you've just accomplished. We can be we're very good at picking out all the things we did wrong, or the cues that we missed or whatever.
Absolutely.
And we don't allow ourselves to really celebrate for all the things that we have accomplished. So I think that's just as important in cooling down.
Okay. I like that. I like to celebrate.
Yeah,
So you offer one-on-one coaching.
I do.
So what are some kinds of vocal challenges that you help your clients overcome?
The main one that I hear most often is confidence. They want confidence in their sound. And some of that has to do with body language, how they're holding their body. They're not holding it confidently. And really, if you think about it, when you're on your computer, on your phone, driving, a lot of those activities that we do have a tendency to round the shoulders forward.
Yep.
And by proxy, that means that doesn't look confident. That's not a confident look.
Right.
And Amy Cuddy, who wrote the book Presence, she did a Harvard study that showed if you stand in a confident stance, and what I teach is a confident stance, if you stand like that for 2 minutes, it will change your mindset in that 2 minutes. So you can go from feeling less than to actually feeling the confidence. So that's one part of it. The other part is knowing that they can have a better sound, working on, what are the things that you like about your voice? What do you not like about your voice? Let's kind of help. And what I really tell my students is that there are no bad sounds. There's no good sounds. There's just sounds. Just like there's no bad colors or good colors. There's a color that you want to paint your wall, and there's a color that you don't want to paint your wall, but you might want to add a little highlight in this painting that you're painting. That's the same way with your voice. And so knowing what are the major colors I want, what are the major sounds that I want to have, and maybe what are those little highlight colors, those highlight sounds, and learning to you making the choice of how you sound as opposed to what your brain has decided that's what you should do, that automatic default kind of sound.
That's good. I like that because we all have an idea of what we sound like. And obviously, I sit in front of a microphone here and, I'm just like so many other voice talents and stuff like that. They're very uncomfortable when they first start hearing their voice.
Sure.
And they don't like how they sound and all of that. And so trying to get beyond that because
Right.
that's what our brain is telling us. Because we hear what other people sound like. I like that voice. I like that voice. And then I hear mine and I'm like, I don't like that at all.
Well, let me just say a couple things. One is that you're hearing your voice from the inside out.
Right.
So you're hearing the vocal folds vibrate, and then it's going through like the sinews and the sinus cavities and the bones and all that kind of stuff, and then you're hearing it. Whereas we just hear the pure sound that's coming out of your mouth.
Right.
That's why there's a difference there. But you also have a speech file in your brain that when you have the intention of speaking, that brain opens the speech file and that's how you sound. And most people think, well, that's just the way I sound. I can't change. But the funny thing is we can reprogram that speak file or that sing file in your brain to have the kind of sound that you want to have.
Excellent.
That was part of that neurovocal method that I took, talking about
awesome.
the brain.
See, I'm learning all kinds of stuff here. So what can people expect from your workshop and how can they sign up?
They can expect to go through a lot of exercises and understand the meaning behind the exercise, and they're going to get a lot of information. So the whys as to, why we're doing it this particular way, and give you exercises and things to help you. And sometimes we have time to do, I can do a little coaching in the workshops. My hesitation was the, how do they sign up? Because right now I don't have any on the books, right? Because we're on grandbaby watch. So right. I haven't really wanted to schedule anything just yet. But I tell you what, if they would email me at Melissa, Melissa, Melissa Kamm, MELISSAKAMM.me, I will absolutely put them on my list so that when the next workshop happens, I will give them they'll be one of the first ones to know.
So there you go, folks. And her email address will be in the show notes when we're done here. So you can reach out to her for coaching, for advice. Sometimes she'll just answer questions, but she would rather you come to her shop. So just keep that in mind. So then that kind of leads into the next question. Do you offer both online and in-person coaching?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, my preference is in person.
Of course.
I like the 3D. I really want to see what's going on. But I've had some good success doing the Zoom sessions as well. So don't think because you don't want to travel all the way to where I am. Don't think that that means that you can that you won't have the opportunity to be able to work with me.
That's great. That's great. And you know, some people they may be cross country. I mean, we do reach a lot of people, and so
Sure.
they want to reach you. Zoom may be the only way they can
Zoom,
get with
yeah,
you. So,
absolutely.
I mean, unless they want to pay for you to fly out there.
Oh, I would absolutely do that. I think that would be my $10,000 offer or something.
Exactly. Do a whole package. I can
That's
come out for the
right.
weekend,
All
and you
right.
know. So you have said multiple times that your voice is your superpower. Can you expand on that?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, how communication is how we have relationship, whether that's in your work, it's what you do on your, a podcast, or what you do on stage, what you do with your family, with your friends. That is so important. And how you communicate is you have to use that effectively and efficiently. You want clarity, you want confidence, you also want the right sound, because there is an actual timbre. There's a hertz that you can be speaking at that will draw people in, which on the flip side of that, there's a way that you can speak that absolutely repels people. So when you draw people in, that's really a superpower, being able to have people they listen to you, they want to listen to you, they react in positive ways to however that you are communicating. That's going to make a really big difference, as opposed to if you aren't working on that superpower and it ends up being more of a liability.
I like that. That's pretty impressive right there. So if someone wants to improve their voice, but they don't know where to start, what would be one key piece of advice that you could give them?
Sign up for a discovery call with me for 20 minutes. It doesn't cost you anything, and then we can talk about what your concerns are and how best I can help. But really, it really all boils down to learn as much as you can about that instrument. It is your superpower. Learn all that you can. Exercise it. Don't neglect it. Be intentional on how you use it. Okay, so become intentional, and then take care of it. Because if you lose it, you can't go out and buy another voice.
Oh.
So most people know the Tony Robbins story, and if you followed him for any length of time, he actually has worn away his vocal folds, and his laryngologist has said it's a miracle that you're even able to produce sound. And that's just because of the years and years and years of abusing his voice, right? And other people, like reporters that I have heard of that have been on vocal rest for months at a time because they've overused it and didn't keep it up, didn't exercise it, didn't take care of their voice. And so yeah, just make sure that you're taking care, you're exercising it, you're learning as much as you can about it.
Great advice. So you talked about your on grandbaby watch.
We're on grandbaby watch.
So aside from that, what's next for you? So what's any exciting projects or upcoming workshops that you have?
Well, I'm hoping to in August or September, I'm hoping to do another in-person workshop with Share Your Best Voice, and maybe do a couple that are on Zoom as well. I mean, that's kind of where I'm thinking, but yeah, just really expanding for professionals. I really want to concentrate more on the funny thing is when I tell people I'm a voice expert or I'm a voice health coach, and they're like, "Oh, well, I don't sing." That's their first comment, and I'm like, it's more than just singing. But you know what? We can learn to sing. You can learn to sing. That's fine. But really thinking of this as an investment in you, investment in um, what you can do and how you can improve yourself for all of those areas, relationship, work, etc.
Sure, sure. I mean, yeah, because just because I'm not a cyclist doesn't mean I can't ride a bicycle.
True.
So, yeah, good. Okay, so I told you before we started that as we kind of start getting to the end, I have some curveball
Oh,
questions. And
no.
everybody that's been listening to this podcast, they know I do curveball questions for all my guests. So, I just like to, and some of them, they're not bad at all. Other ones, they really kind of stretch your thought process. So, you're stretching our voice, we're going to stretch your mind.
Okay.
All right, so the first one, if you could coach any famous performer, past or present, who would it be?
Well, I brought up the Tony Robbins thing. I would absolutely love to get a hold of him when he's in his 30s and start giving him some exercises. He has this whole warm up routine that he does because, he's in those television shows or whatever. Yeah, I would really like to get a hold of him and just say, hey, let's make this better so it will last longer, because I have a crystal ball and I can see in your future that it's going to be a struggle.
Save a lot of headache.
Yeah, no kidding.
What's the funniest or most unexpected thing that has happened during one of your coaching sessions? Remember the little mouse?
Oh my! Do we really want to go there, Tim? I'm not sure we want to go there. I am a funny person, so I would like to say all of my things are funny, and part of what I do is try to make you comfortable. Your voice is something that is very, very personal. You're very vulnerable. To come to me and work with me, there has to be a level of vulnerability in that, and so I want to make sure that you feel at ease. So I do some joking, and we can kibitz around and things of that nature. But I did have a student once. This doesn't have to do with funny, but this is pretty poignant. He came to me and he had a very, very choked kind of sound in his speaking voice, and he wanted to learn to sing better. And really working through how to relax, and it was taking more than just your typical relaxation. He was doing all of the exercises. He was practicing daily. He would come in each week and it would just sound like he's just choking, literally. And so we kind of got down to it, and your voice is vulnerable, and you have that speak file in your brain that opens when you speak. And so we just kind of got to talking about it. And I said, have you ever had in your life someone who told you to shut up, to just not talk anymore, to just be quiet? And he looked at me and he had a tear that's coming down his face. And he goes, yeah, I have. And I said, you deserve to be heard. You deserve to be heard, and it's okay. It is okay for you to sing and to speak. And although I didn't ask, and he did not give me details, in the next week he came in, he was starting to relax the sound. And within 2 or 3 months, he was at a place where he was speaking very well. He wasn't getting tired and he was an IT person, so it wasn't like he was talking to a lot of people, right? But he was feeling better about, at the end of the day, he wasn't as tired. He was able to sing the songs, get up into, he wanted to sing punk rock songs, so those are kind of high. And he was able to start accessing that part of his brain. But until he could get past the trauma that had happened to him when he was younger, he really couldn't move forward in his voice.
It's amazing how trauma can affect so many things other than just what was initially impacted.
Right. Or just your psyche.
Yeah. Okay, so if you weren't a vocal coach, what career would you pursue?
I would be an editor, like a book editor. I love to read, and I love to tell people what to do. So
that's true.
I think a book editor would be, yeah. Or, if we want to kind of stay along the voice thing, I could be a speech pathologist, or a speech and language, counselor, those kinds of things.
Yeah,
If we wanted
I
to,
could see you.
but if it was something that was totally different than singing or speaking, it would be a book editor.
Okay, all right. So I love this one. I throw this one out every once in a while. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Love Will Keep Us Together by Captain and Tennille. I grew up, I had the 8-track of that album. I had the 8-track that I wore out on my little 8-track system at home. I loved all of those songs by Captain and Tennille. So yeah, that's my happy place right there.
So for all you youngsters, go and ask mom what an 8-track is,
No
and
kidding.
then you can come back to the show.
Or who Captain and Tennille are. I mean,
no, that's true too. If you had to describe your coaching style in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Fun, safe, informative.
There you go.
That wasn't very hard, Tim. Come on, you gotta do better.
I told you, some of them aren't bad, but it puts you on the edge of your seat just thinking about it. So that's come to the end of all the questions that I have. I love what you've shared. And again, I love going through your workshop. It was great, informative
Thank you.
stuff. And so, like I said, folks, we will offer this voice checklist available to you. It'll either be in the show notes or we'll give you a link to where you can find it either on our webpage or something like that. So we will make it available to you. And also, Melissa's email address will also be available there, so you can reach out to her if you have any questions or if you would like to schedule time with her or whatever. And I guarantee you will not be disappointed. You will not be disappointed. So, Melissa, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us and entertain us all, but educate us at the same time.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
We appreciate you. So, everybody else listening at home, we thank you for taking the time to listen to us. We hope that you check us out again later. And more importantly than anything else, continue to support the arts.
Oklahoma on stage.